It started with a conversation. My colleague Jen has expertise in the field of restorative justice. I love this concept, this idea that a wrong thing can somehow be made right. And so I set up a coffee date with Jen to learn more about how to make something right. I listened to her animated description about restorative justice, how a person who has harmed another can, with humility and intention, work with the person who has been harmed to find a way to make the wrong thing right. It sounded so beautiful and powerful. But I asked her, what if the injustice can't be made right? What if the harm wasn't caused by a human? What if restoration requires resurrection? Or what if the harming human won't acknowledge the ways they have harmed, won't engage in a process of restoration? Then what? Jen gave me a very nice and professional response, which I translated to roughly, well, good luck with all of that. I didn't give up. What about ethical revenge? Is that a thing? You know, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, nothing extra, just the exact same amount of awful. I think Jen was sitting there thinking to herself, wait, isn't this the person who teaches our ethics class? Yes, that's why I included the word ethical in my question about revenge. But okay, fine. So restorative justice was out. Revenge, ethical or otherwise, that was out. What was left? Do nothing? Just suffer? Allow the injustice to just exist? Pummeling and battering, amplifying that sense of helplessness? Unrestored injustice? No, not acceptable. Like so many, I was handed an injustice. By definition, it was wrong, unfair, and cruel. Some caring person recently reached out to me to express her sorrow for everything that has happened, and she described it as truly inconceivable, ungraspable. Yes, I know. But I'm not the only person living such a life. Maybe you are, or maybe you have, maybe you will. Or maybe someone you love has been sent spinning off into dark, scary spaces by something that never should have happened, never would have happened if only life were fair, if only broken, imperfect humans did not wound each other with their sharp, jagged edges. I was trying to find a way to breathe reliably again, to make things right. I was seeking a path to restoration, wholeness. But it turned out restorative justice was not that path because neither restoration nor justice was possible. I was left with the injustice, like the last ugly thing in a white elephant gift exchange. There it was, really ugly, and mine. I am a university professor and clinical social worker with expertise in things related to death, dying, grief, and loss. I came to this work because my mom died of breast cancer when she was just 45. I was a heartbroken undergraduate student writing paper after tear-streaked paper on cancer, death, dying, grief. It was very uplifting, I am sure, from my professors. But it helped. It helped me understand the experience I was going through, what we had all gone through. And it felt like I was giving meaning to something that was so wrong, so unfair, so cruel, and so meaningless. I recently found myself once again living with losses so profound and devastating, but with a really different and interesting perspective. Instead of seeking knowledge to help me understand my experiences, I have been living an experience that is helping me understand knowledge I have accumulated for decades. If C.S. Lewis had not already written A Grief Observed, that's what I would call it. Personal me experiences, professional me is taking notes, and I mean this literally. I have had the privilege of walking with people through some of life's worst journeys. Because of that, I know what people are capable of being and doing. Because of them, all those who trusted me with their broken hearts, I knew I could be okay again. But I also knew the bad thing would change me. And I understood the importance of paying attention to how it would change me. Tragedies and injustices so easily can run off with the rest of what Mary Oliver calls our one wild and precious life. They take so much. Let's not give more. We can't typically choose our tragedies, our losses, our injustice, but I think we can and should decide how they're going to impact us for the rest of our lives. It sounds so easy, doesn't it? Just write a better ending. I wish. But the truth is, somebody or something is going to write that ending. Why not me? Why not you? Do we really want to let injustice, tragedy, villains author the rest of our life's narrative? I don't. If an injustice is going to be meaningful, and if it mattered at all, it will, then I want to create the shape and the meaning. I want to own the definition of meaningful. And because this is my injustice and my loss and my life, I get to do that. So do you. But finding and creating meaning is not the first thing we need to do when we're handed an injustice, a tragedy, or a loss. No, there is a place we need to go first. A place where the shards of our shattered souls can find their way back to each other, into a mosaic of broken pieces that is somehow whole and beautiful and meaningful in new ways. Alexander Graham Bell said, "When a door closes, another opens." So people have taken liberties with this very simple idea, much like Apple and Samsung have with the telephone. When a door closes, another one is supposed to open, but if it doesn't, you can always climb out the window. Don't be discouraged, and I personally love it when people tell me how to feel. When one door closes, you can find an alternative open door. Thanks. This one's my favorite, and I think most like real life. When one door closes, a window opens, and then zombies pile in and bite you in the backside. People, what's the rush? When the door closes, let it be. Let it be dark. Let it be hard. Let it be real. Just let it be. That brokenhearted human is not stuck there in the dark place. They don't need to be rescued. They don't need a window. They don't need a door. They're there because something terrible happened to them, something so wrong, so unfair. And the door did slam shut. Yes, it is dark in there, as it should be, because what happened mattered. What happened is meaningful. It deserves to be experienced, fully experienced, all of it there, here, in the dark place. The dark place is like a chapel, a place we go to experience meaning, to feel, to plead, to despair. Don't those big losses matter enough to cry a million tears in the quiet darkness? We need to stop pushing people to doors and windows because we are uncomfortable with their broken hearts, with their grief. Yes, I know grief is hard and it's messy and we don't know what to do or say, but it hurts hurting people when we do not honor and respect what that experience means to them. And that's what we're doing when we're trying to hurry them along. We're responding instead to what their grief means to us. Maybe it would help if people better understood grief. If they could tolerate people hiding under a pile of coats in the dark place without calling 911 or smashing out some windows, or worse, walking away. If people could understand that grief is so much more than crying, it's being trapped in a body desperate to escape pain, and it can't. A saturated mind that doesn't have room for one more thing. Grief is feeling disconnected from everyone and everything, like a ghost walking among the living and no one sees you. We beg for answers in the dark place. Why? Why did it happen? Understand those questions as expressions of deep pain and suffering. They are not a request for answers. Grief doesn't have answers. There are no solutions. It's not orderly. There are no stages. It can't be fixed. And I think that's the real reason people struggle with grief, because it can't be fixed. And please, stop trying. That well-meaning advice, door, window, opportunity, bright side. It's like being handed a pair of pants that are 3 sizes too small. Not only does your advice not fit me, but now I know you don't care enough to understand what size I am right now. And so one way to understand the term meaningful injustice is as a reminder to honor and respect what an injustice meant for as long as it takes, and in the language of a broken heart, which is grief. And as we develop fluency in our new language, we will find and create ways to describe meaning that only exist in that language of loss. That time in the dark place is so hard, and on ourselves, but also on other people. And yes, it does seem like all the exit doors and windows are illuminated, but please close your eyes. We cannot make an injustice meaningful unless we experience the meaning of the injustice. A meaningful injustice is one that has impact on us, and when we're ready, out there. Making meaning doesn't change the injustice. It doesn't transform the unfairness. It doesn't make the wrong thing right. Meaningful injustice is about using the wrong thing to make something else right. Like the family that took a tragic and unfair death and transformed it into a life-saving heart transplant for my friend Jay. Thank you, kind strangers, for letting 4 children grow up with their father. Or like Andrea, who went to law school and became a fierce advocate for workers' rights and workplace safety because her son, Danny, age 18, died in an industrial accident that never should have happened. Andrea has made her work, her passion, the continuation of Danny's story. Creating meaning can be as big as sparking a social movement like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, or as powerful and private as making a choice to live a life of compassion and love and empathy in honor of what we were denied. And injustice can create chains of injustice. Loss so easily becomes more losses. Meaningful injustice is about making a conscious, intentional choice to not let that happen, not to pass along that ugly gift of injustice that was handed to us, but rather to stand in sharp relief against the wreckage, holding tight to possibility and meaning and hope. We do not pretend that the wrong thing is now right. We experience it fully and authentically, and we name it accurately, injustice. Yes, a meaningful injustice sends us to the dark place, and that is hard. But that's where we experience the meaning of what happened. And it's there that we pick up the pen and start to write the rest of the story we didn't ask to live in. That ugly thing that we were given, the injustice that we didn't want, that we didn't deserve, is still ours. We can make it matter. We can use it to drive something positive into the world, to make a difference. A meaningful injustice can be a gift that we give to someone else, that they need to receive, that we need to give, that I need to give to create a meaningful injustice.